Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pavilion's Gaming Corner. This is a brand new series brought to you by me, Pavilion 5097. What I have planned for this series is we're going to be spending some time with games I either haven't played before or that just got a new update. So without further ado, today's topic on Pavilion's Gaming Corner is RuneScape's newest skill, Invention. If you don't know what RuneScape is, it is a free-to-play MMO. It's been around since they're on their 15th year anniversary. It's getting up there in age. I used to play this a lot more when I was younger, but due to knowing Invention was coming up, I decided to start playing again. But Invention is RuneScape's newest skill. RuneScape only gets a new skill once every 2 years or so. So when it comes around, it brings around a lot of hype, especially when they start talking more and more about it. People get hyped. So I've been spending this Monday through Friday afternoon playing through Invention and getting some footage for this first episode. So let's take a look at what Invention is. Invention is an elite skill, the first of its kind in the world of RuneScape, and with it, a lot of questions. Out of the box, Invention isn't easily describable, but they do give a small tutorial to help you get to level 5 and teach you some of the basics of Invention. And that's kind of what I'm going to be doing this first part, is kind of telling you what Invention is, in case you don't know what RuneScape is or haven't played it before. So, to start Invention, as I described, it's an elite skill, so you need level 80 in smithing, crafting, and divination. Ugh, hate that skill. So the tutorial will teach you the basics of how to disassemble existing items into invention parts, use inspiration to create blueprints for machines to make and different items to craft, and how to augment and enhance your weapons and armor. So let's take a look at each of these step by step. Let's start with disassembling items. This is what you're going to be spending a lot of your time doing because you need a shit ton of parts. When I say shit ton, I mean literal shit ton. But it is rather easy to start disassembling. Just take the items you want to disassemble, drag them to this little light bulb in the backpack menu, and bam, you will start disassembling the items into parts. This basically makes Invention an item sync, which RuneScape has needed for years. But at the same time, it could use some major tweaking, in my honest opinion. Items will have rates at which they give junk, and junk is useless. Very useless. And as of right now, there are a lot of items that could be useful, but since they give a 90% chance of junk or higher, it makes them not worth disassembling. But the whole disassembly thing is very nice when you're killing monsters. You get some stuff that you would normally just leave on the ground. You can now disassemble it to get some extra parts. Even if it's like a 90% chance, might as well take it and disassemble it, and maybe you'll get an extra part out of it. This has turned the RuneScape market on its head. Items have been stable for quite some time, and you pretty much knew right around the price of what items were. Now, if you want, say, a piece of coal, you might be paying 2 times what it used to be. I was trying to buy some jewelry to dismantle right before doing this, and I had to pay 10 times what it used to be. It's ridiculous how the RuneScape market is at the moment. But that is also very, very good, because now skillers, people who don't go out in combat, are able to make money because of Invention. And a lot more money than combat-oriented people were making. So this is great for skillers, and it's, I think, brought down the difference in wealth between skillers and combat people to a more even playing field, at least for the moment. Long-term effects are still yet to be seen. But let's move on to the next part. Inspiration for blueprints. There isn't much to say here, but whenever you level up, you'll get inspiration so you can start working on new blueprints. After you level up, you have some inspiration and you can gain through doing other tasks and skilling other skills. You'll get them randomly, but unfortunately there is a cap of inspiration per level. This is good and bad. I think it's good because that means you can't just hit like level 10 and instantly do everything that there is for level 10. Invention at its core, like in the real world, you have to think of an idea, prototype it, and actually make it work. So I'm glad they kind of made that work in RuneScape to a sense. So it's kind of a unique concept, and I actually really like it. The bad part is, like, when I hit level 35, I had 3 blueprints I still couldn't make, and I was sitting at the max inspiration I could get for that level. Hopefully, higher levels, you'll get more inspiration than blueprints, so it all balances out. But that is yet to be seen in my personal account, because I'm currently only at level like 55 as of this recording. So let's jump into the final part of invention: augmenting and enhancing weapons. This is a big selling point for invention, and still needs a bit more balancing, but I personally love the augmenting and enhancing. I should note that Invention, while it just launched this week, it is not the full skill. This is the base of Invention, and they plan on releasing updates like every month, and with a big update in the second half of the year. So we're going to see a lot of changes each month to Invention. So what I'm saying now is literally everything that came with the first update within the first week of Invention. But anyways, on to augmenting and enhancing. As I said, Invention is an elite skill, which elite skills are aimed towards higher level players. So to go with that, augmenting is only useful for level 70 and higher weapons and armor. So to go about augmenting, you need to make an augmenter. Only issue with augmenters, personally, they cost way too many goddamn parts. To make one of these, it's ridiculous. I've made maybe 6, and I would like to make more, but I can't get enough of the parts to make it without breaking the bank. But once you have yourself an augmenter, you can slap that onto your choice of any level 70 weapon or armor. Within reason, there's a lot that are still being added because it was either new content or content they didn't have a chance to get around to adding right away, but a good sizable chunk of level 70 weapons and armor. But doing so will make it untradeable, and you cannot revert the augmented state. This alone has made a lot of level 70 weapons and armor go up in price, in bringing back to life some content that wasn't worth doing previously. Like an example is the Barrows Brothers. They're really old content, and the armor just isn't that great anymore. But now, because people are rushing to level up Invention, their armor's kind of all of a sudden gone up in price because people want them. Which has meant people who've had items in the marketplace to sell are now suddenly getting a lot of money. So it's very nice. Once you have your augmented weapon, you can create a gizmo. Gizmos are a hell of a lot cheaper to make and give a nice chunk of experience as well. So you can make a lot of gizmos to level up, but unfortunately they recently nerfed the XP rate by 50% for those. It's not as viable now, but it's still better than disassembling everything. Once you have created your gizmo, you can then start putting different parts into it and try to get a variety of perks that can go on your weapon. As of right now, the perks are mostly bad, with quite a few good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones in the early levels. Like I said, I'm still in the earlier parts of the skill, and there's quite a few bad ones. Well, I've heard that once you hit the higher levels, you get a lot of item parts that give you better perks. And I've seen on the forums that some JMods have said they are looking into perks and will be changing some to be better balanced and have more uses. So that's good that we're going to see some of those perks that are like, maybe turn into, ooh, I like that. Once you have augmented your weapons or armor, they now require divine energy in order to function. Divine energy can be gotten through the divination skill. Again, ugh. If you don't have enough divine energy in your energy pack, you may as well be hitting your enemy with a limp noodle, because you won't be doing any damage to them at all. Like, seriously, you might as well hit them with a limp noodle. You might do more damage with a limp noodle. But that's the basics of the invention skill. It's a really cool concept, and it has the potential for a lot of depth with future updates. So now that that's out of the way, let me talk about my personal opinions on the skill and how it's been implemented. Overall, I think Jagex did the most they could with what they had. There were a lot of issues at launch, like the fact that it's only been a week and there's quite a few people that have already maxed leveled the skill. But there's some of the stuff that they were using to get to max level, I don't think Jagex could have done to prevent. If you really think about it, a skill like invention that's meant to thrive off items that are in the marketplace and be an item sink, you can't really figure out how much of an effect the marketplace is going to have and how much a player's wealth is going to have until it's live in game with the live market. So with them testing and trying to figure out XP rates before launch, they couldn't use the live market, so they were using other methods to try and balance it, and it's maybe something that they could have taken a little bit more of a closer look at, but I think they did what they could and what they thought they could do before launch. So here's some examples of like dismantling and some XP rates that probably needed to be adjusted a bit more before launch. So example, dismantling a shield bow was netting around 20 experience points per bow. It's very slow, and you're getting a lot of parts, and it's very costly. A lot of people were leveling up just by dismantling, and that was confirmed that the XP rate was not supposed to be that high. So that was a bug when compiling into the main game. Creating gizmos from those dismantled items was netting around 1,000 experience. I think it was closer to like 1,200. I forget the number off the top of my head. Making the gizmo faster, but very costly because you needed all the parts. And now, after Tuesday's update, or was it Wednesday's? One of the two. Gizmos only give half the XP, so it's only like 500. Still faster than dismantling, but not fast enough to really make it viable. The main way Jagex has stated that they expected players to train invention was to augment and level up your augmented weapons and armors. And that's the way I went in thinking, oh hey, yes, I'm going to train it this way because that's how they said was going to be the best way. I don't know if they forgot a couple decimal places, but when I augmented my first weapon, I got it to level 5, which each weapon, when you augment it, you can go up to a certain level. Early on, you can only get it to level 5. Once you like level 27, you can get up to level 10. Well, level 5 was only getting me 3,000 experience when I dismantled the weapon. And it took about 30 to 40 minutes to do. I mean, I wasn't using the best monster to fight against, but it took a while, and ow. All that time for like crap experience. Yeah, at first it was like, oh, I was like level 10. It'll get better as I level up, right? Right? Wrong. That was the rate for players that already managed to get to level 50, 60. How Jagex said was going to be the prime way to train was like the slowest way to train. So you can see just from that rate, it wasn't worth it. So when I found that out, I kind of ended my play session. It was like Monday afternoon. I was pretty disappointed, and I didn't log in the next day. I looked at the patch notes that they released, which I will be putting on screen here. But then Wednesday rolled around, and I woke up, and they updated with some pretty big patch notes. So the main highlight to Wednesday's patch notes was a 1,800% increase to XP for dismantling leveled up augmented weapons. This was huge. Not only did they increase it by over 1,000%, but it brought dismantling leveled up weapons finally in line to how they originally stated was going to be the main way to train invention. So I was happy. So remember how I got like 3,000 XP from a level 5 weapon? Well, now a level 5 weapon brings you over 100,000 experience. Huge. Like, that's like the biggest step for them to balance the XP rate mess that they started with on Monday. But there were other things that they still need to balance, and they may have already fixed it. I didn't read everything in the patch notes. Excuse me. But that one thing alone was just enough for me to be like, oh, logging on, playing. So since Wednesday, I've been having a blast training invention now. Like I said, I'm like over level 50. I've been doing a lot of dismantling for and trying to make some money because, yeah, I'm kind of poor now. But in my opinion, invention is very fun and a great addition to RuneScape. It just needs some tweaks and fixes to get it to where they originally intended it for it to be. But I can't wait for the future things to come, because now that invention, the base work is done, now they can just start throwing things onto it and making it so much better. I think that's about all I'm going to talk about for invention. This video is getting to be about 20 minutes long now. I try to stay under that. And I probably won't cover any more invention unless you guys want me to on any more Pavilions Game Corner, because I want to hit a lot of games, and I want to talk about a lot of different games I haven't played and some experiences that I get from them. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and like I said, if you want to see follow-ups on this particular video, let me know. Maybe I'll do like snippets here and there. But yeah, that about does it for this episode of Pavilions Game Corner. Tell me what you guys think overall, and if you're new to the channel and like this, go check out our other videos. We do hilarious Let's Plays of different games. We just finished Kerbal Space Program, and we're in the middle of Game Dev Tycoon, and just started Stanley's Parable. Oh, man, that's an adventure all on its own. Whew. Yeah, go check those out. It's us making a fool of ourselves playing games. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks for the next Pavilions Game Corner. Take care.